Animal Farm by George Orwell is included in the syllabus of Semester 3 BA English Language and Literature. It forms a second module of the paper Reading Fiction. George Orwell is a pen name of Eric Arthur Blair, who was an English novelist, essayist, journalist, critic, and pamphleteer. But later on in life, Orwell saw himself mainly as a political writer and a democratic socialist without any party affiliations or labels. He was against totalitarianism and became more and more disillusioned with the methods of communism. George Orwell was born on the 25th of June 1903 in Bihar in India. At the age of 8, he was taken to England for education. He joined the civil service and went to Burma as a sergeant in the Indian Imperial Police, but later he resigned from his post. Later, when the Spanish Civil War broke out, Orwell went to Spain as an observer and a reporter. He joined a militia loyal to the POUM, which was a Marxist but anti-Stalinist political party. He did not choose to join the International Brigade, which was better known in America at that time, but it was ultimately communist controlled. What he saw in Spain shocked him badly. He believed that the communist action there had betrayed a popular revolution that might have given the working class real freedom and status. He tried to enter the army, but he was rejected because of tuberculosis. However, he was accepted in the Home Guard, and during World War II, he worked for a time in the London Tribune and also contributed to journals like The Observer, Manchester Evening News, Parisian Review, and New Leader. Here is a list of some of the important works written by George Orwell. In 1933, he published Down and Out in Paris and London. It's a record of Orwell's experiences in the two cities of London and Paris. Burmese Days is the first novel written by Orwell. It came out in the year 1934. Burmese Days is a fictional account of Orwell's experiences as a police officer in Burma. A Clergyman's Daughter is a novel written in 1935. It tells the story of Dorothy, a spinster daughter of a clergyman who loses her memory after a sexual molestation episode. In 1936, he published Keep the Aspidistra Flying. This tells the story of a man called Gordon Comstock, who came from a shabby, genteel family. Like George Orwell, this character had to undergo several unpleasant experiences in school with boys who were much richer than himself. The Road to Wigan Pier, published in 1937, gives an account of Orwell's experiences during his visit to the industrial town of Wigan in northern England to study the condition or the miserable condition of the working classes. Homage to Catalonia, published in 1938, is a record of his experiences in the Spanish Civil War, during which he was wounded. After this, he was forced to leave Spain. Coming Up for Air. This was published in the year 1939. It tells the story of George Bowling, a middle-aged suburban insurance agent. Like Orwell, this character disliked London. He always feared the impending war and longed for the imagined security of his childhood. The celebrated work Animal Farm was published in the year 1945. It is an anti-utopian or a dystopian novel which was directed against the erstwhile Soviet Union. But more generally, the book is against totalitarianism of any kind. It is a political allegory depicting Stalin's betrayal of the ideals of the Russian Revolution of October 1917. In 1946, he published a collection of essays titled Dickens, Daly and Others. The work 1984 was published in the year 1949. This is yet another grim satire on totalitarianism, an nightmarish vision of the future as narrated through the horrendous experiences of the protagonist, Watson Smith. George Orwell's writings are characterized by a plain, lucid and colloquial style. They reflect his deep awareness of social injustice, opposition to totalitarianism, and an open support of democratic socialism. Animal Farm is an anti-utopian satire and an allegorical novella by George Orwell, written between 1943 and 1944. It was first published in England on the 17th of August 1945. It was originally titled Animal Farm, a Fairy Story, but when it was published in 1946, the US publishers dropped the subtitle. Though it is apparently a humorous animal story, it is actually a political fable based on the events of Russia's Bolshevik Revolution and the betrayal of the cause by Joseph Stalin. So in actuality, this is a work that attacks Stalinism, and it also satirizes the events of the Russian Revolution and the rise of Russian communism. Homage to Catalonia, an autobiographical work written by George Orwell and published in 1938, gives an account of his experiences during the Spanish Civil War. This book is supposed to have inspired the composition of Animal Farm and 1984. But Orwell is also satirizing totalitarian regimes in general in Animal Farm. This is what Orwell has said about Animal Farm: the first book in which I tried, with full consciousness of what I was doing, to fuse political purpose and artistic purpose into one whole. Totalitarianism, a form of government that theoretically permits no individual freedom and that seeks to subordinate all aspects of individual life to the authority of the state. Italian dictator Benito Mussolini coined the term totalitario in the early 1920s to characterize the new fascist state of Italy, which he further described as all within the state, none outside the state, none against the state. By the beginning of World War II, totalitarian had become synonymous with absolute and oppressive single-party government. Other modern examples of totalitarian states include the Soviet Union under Joseph Stalin, Nazi Germany under Adolf Hitler, the People's Republic of China under Mao Zedong, and North Korea under the Kim dynasty. Animal Farm is based on Orwell's own experiences during the Spanish Civil War and the Russian Revolution. Though he satirizes Russia under the communist regime, the book also reflects Orwell's disillusionment at the fate of revolutions. According to him, the outcome of all revolutions is the same. The dream of a classless society is never fulfilled. Only new tyrants replace the old. Even though the satire is on the Russian political scene, Orwell has set the novel in England. Animal Farm was originally Manor Farm. Note the pun in the name: farm owned by man, Manor Farm. So Manor Farm, owned by the cruel farmer Jones, is located near Willingdon in England. the tyrannical farmer, is overthrown in a revolution led by the animals, and Manor Farm is renamed Animal Farm when two young pigs, Snowball and Napoleon, take over the control of the farm and the animals. But soon it becomes a new kind of despotism, with the pigs replacing man as their next tyrannical rulers. So this is the gist of Animal Farm. Now what is peculiar about the characters in Animal Farm is that most of them represent real historical personages. The cruel farmer Mr. Jones, who owns the Manor Farm before the rebellion that establishes Animal Farm, represents Tsar Nicholas II, whom the Russian Revolution ousted. Napoleon, the rebellious pig, who leads the rebellion, is based on Joseph Stalin, who eventually consolidated power using military force and became the country's de facto dictator in the 1930s. Snowball, the other rebel pig, is based on Leon Trotsky. He is shown as being intelligent, eloquent, more forthright and earnest than Napoleon. Boxer, the cart horse, represents downtrodden peasants. He has immense strength and dedication, and he remains loyal to Animal Farm's ideals till his end and naively trusts the pigs. His two mottos are, "I will work harder" and "Napoleon is always right." Squealer, the pig, represents the propaganda machine of the government or media. It is Squealer who spreads Napoleon's propaganda and justifies the pig's monopolization of resources. He spreads false statistics and twists the truth to mislead the animals to gain political control. Old Major, the prize-winning boar, is based on the German political economist Karl Marx and the Russian revolutionary leader Vladimir Lenin. It is his vision of a socialist utopia that kindles the rebellion. 3 days after Old Major describes his vision and teaches the animals the song Beasts of England, Major dies. The rebellion, led by Snowball and Napoleon, begins as an attempt to carry on the legacy left behind by Old Major. Moses, the tame raven, symbolizes organized religion, mainly the Russian Orthodox Church. Moses spreads stories of Sugar Candy Mountain, the paradise to which animals supposedly go when they die. Moses has a small but significant role in Animal Farm. His character shows how communism uses religion as an instrument to pacify the oppressed and keep them under control. Molly, the vain, capricious mare who pulls Mr. Jones' carriage, represents the bourgeois that fled from Russia after the Russian Revolution. She craves for the attention of human beings. She loves being groomed and pampered by humans. Naturally, she is unhappy with her new life on Animal Farm. She misses wearing ribbons in her mane and also eating sugar cubes. Benjamin, the long-lived donkey, represents the apathetic humankind. He stays away from the rebellion and is pessimistic and believes that life will remain unpleasant no matter who is in charge. He is able to understand things but is unwilling or unable to oppose the pigs. Clover, a motherly figure and a loyalist of the revolution, is a kind-hearted female cart horse. She is Boxer's close friend too. Even though Clover suspects the pigs of violating one or another of the 7 commandments, she blames herself for not remembering the commandments correctly. Muriel, the white goat, symbolizes a revelatory force. It is Muriel who reads the 7 commandments to Clover whenever Clover suspects the pigs of violating their prohibitions. Mr. Frederick, the tough, shrewd operator of Pinchfield, a Neighboring Farm is based on Adolf Hitler, the ruler of Nazi Germany in the 1930s and 40s. He is depicted as an untrustworthy neighbor. Mr. Pilkington is an easygoing gentleman farmer who runs a neighboring farm called Foxwood. He represents the capitalist governments of England and the United States. Mr. Pilkington is Mr. Frederick's bitter enemy. Mr. Whymper is the human solicitor hired by Napoleon. He is business-minded and has absolutely no concern for animal rights. Jessie and Bluebell, the two dogs that give birth to puppies who are taken by Napoleon and raised as goons. The puppies represent Stalin's secret police force, a frightening group called the NKVD. Minimus, the poet pig, represents the poet Vladimir Mayakovsky. He writes verses about Napoleon and also pens the boring patriotic song Animal Farm to replace the earlier idealistic hymn Bees of England, which old Major passes on to the others.